just had saw some poster which had 4 faces on it, and one of them was a bearded guy, and somewhere it said Red Guardian. I think I saw a figure somewhere with the Red Guardian.
That guy is being played by the guy from Stranger Things who plays the cop.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if he's going to end up being... I don't want to say it. I was just thinking of The Boys. You ever read The Boys?
Yeah.
Love Sausage, the Russian guy there. That's exactly what came to mind. So that's what I was thinking. Right? I look forward to him in season 2 or 3 of The Boys.
I just want talking bears in all of my movies now.
Well, they really...
Is there a world without a talking bear? Talking bears. Yogi, Winnie, and live on the Metal Lab, Jason Collins. That's right, we're live.
All right.
I'm joined by Tom.
Hello, everyone. Cheers.
Mike.
We like bears.
This week is looking like we're pretty streamlined. We've got our Week in HeroClix and then previews coming out of holes I didn't know I had. Before we get into that, Scott Porter also put out his 5 videos out on WizKids YouTube. Do yourself a favor and check those out. There's some pretty neato stuff there and more jokes that we can make about Superman. But Tom, what you been up to this week in HeroClix?
Actually, a fair amount of practice, which has been great. Both of the tournaments that were run at 401 this week were of the 500-point figures only, or you can bring a competitive team and practice type setup, which is a great way of doing it. So that, if you want to play casual within a round, then you've got your casual bank together, and if you want to practice, you can practice. So on Thursday, I played 2 rounds of the 500-point casual and 1 bit of competitive practice. And Sunday, we played 4 games of competitive practice, or 3.5, and then I rage quit and left.
I don't blame you for it at all, man. I have done the same myself.
It was more like resignation quit. I'm like, oh, God. And I could look over my shoulder and see my girlfriend waiting to go for dinner, so that affected things too. But all the same. Yeah, so thank you for being a good sport about it on your birthday.
No, it's all good, man.
You got lots of big wins. What was your like in HeroClix life, like birthday boy?
Much the same, right? I went to those same 2 things, 401, like you said. I had better dice luck on Sunday. Really, the moment for Tom's breaking point was he only needed a 5 to single target pulse wave my unseen, and he really should have got it, but rolled a 3. But to be fair, I probbed it. I mean, you hit, and then you probbed it, and then you hit again, and then you missed, and then you probbed it, and then you hit, and then I probbed it, and then you missed, and that was painful.
Yeah, so, it was just a series. After that, a game with Emily. Oh, what a game.
Yeah. So, I can't be... Again, we've all been in that situation. When the dice go that south and nothing's working, sometimes you have to stop because it's starting to become anomalous, and it doesn't really teach you whether your team can do things. Right. Again, a great example was that Spider-Woman team. I had really no success with it in all the practicing until that last game you and I played right before the WKO, when I actually got the Wendigo to do something to what's her name, Witch Queen, and but then it all of a sudden played amazing at that WKO, went 6-0 and 1 because the dice were good, right? So when dice aren't working, you can't really find out whether you have a good team. Right, because the dice aren't working.
Yeah, right? and there is value in playing, like practicing a team when everything goes wrong, just to see how you'll respond. I think that's absolutely true. It's just it's better to get at least a few sessions in where things are going kind of the way you're hoping they will, just to see if it works, and then you see what happens when it doesn't. It's hard to come the other direction.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying, because if the dice aren't working, then you never get an opportunity to see if any of the stratagem actually works. Right. It's one thing if the dice aren't working because you need to roll 8s and 9s. Well, then you actually don't have a good strategy with your team, because we already know that those are a higher percentage fail than success type rolls. But if you're needing 5s and you can't roll those, it's become anomalous, and it's not really teaching you what the true potential of your team is. So no worries, we still had fun. It was a good day. 3.5 games is still better than no games, and it was a good time.
Awesome. I actually got to play this week. Because we had an odd number show up at Dolly's, which was great news. I played a fun old team, and everybody loved the team. I'm going to tell you guys. It was, check if you catch on. It's Stegron, It is Gertrude York's an Old Lace. Catching it yet? Sauron,
What I could have guessed.
Devil Dinosaur and Moon Girl, Devil Dinosaur, and 2 Triceratons. For 500 points, I had to break the theme with the Triceratons, which is a shame, but it was dinosaurs. It was all dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs. Oh.
What was the wait? You had to break the theme.
Triceratons do not have the animal keyword.
Oh,
Yeah.
and who doesn't have the past keyword in that?
Triceratons definitely don't. And I
Fair
don't
enough.
think because they have soldier and TMNT villains. I want to say, and what was it?
Gertie and the old
Yeah.
Lace may not.
Yeah, I don't think they have past.
No. I don't
Do it?
think they do either.
Did you drive the people before you?
Is that a Conan reference?
Of a sort, yeah.
Yes.
Carry on.
Okay. Cool. I didn't
Mike's
win all my
muted
games.
and
I lost my first game, and you know what? I was more happy to see the smiles when people saw my team go on the table. They're just like, wait, that's awesome! Because who doesn't want to play with dinosaurs? And
Mike, we can't hear you. Unmute. Unmute.
she's eating pretzels.
Oh, I see. I thought he wanted to tell us all about the pretzels.
No, he's just pointing at his bag. Unfortunately, Rolled Gold doesn't. Hey, if they want to sponsor us, by all means, I'll send all those pretzels to Mike. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. Everybody got a smile out of the team. I didn't go ahead and... one of the things about the team, it was definitely very Jason, because dinosaurs seem to like making bystanders. So I had...
Isn't that weird?
The Stegron bystanders and the Devil Dinosaur bystanders, and then the Old Lace bystander just popping out all over the place. So anyway, had a ton of fun. Not much to go on for HeroClix competitive play, but I have been talking to the guys over at Dolly's, and I also, because we've been playing a lot of Golden Age there, I'm thinking of becoming like the Golden Age store, and been consulting with Patrick over at Majestics about starting up some of their Bronze Age events. So
wow,
we're looking into all the possibilities of what we could be doing on the side until like WizKids starts bombarding us with all the cool stuff. In the meantime, we are here for something even cooler than that. It's preview season, and boy, are they upon us. We're going to start this week. Got them all written down here. We're starting this week with previews from Lucky Dice, and the first one there is STRIPE Stripe. I'm calling him Stripe for the rest of this. All-Star Squadron, Justice League, 7 Soldiers, and Armor keywords. He's got the Justice League Unlimited trait. If you haven't caught this in the past, at the beginning of your turn, roll a d6. On a 6, remove an action token from another character with the Justice League keyword that's 100 points or less. He's got a special defense power on a second to last click or his first click at 35 points. Stop, defend, invulnerability with an 18 defense. He's got a special damage power on the first 2 at 90 or the first click on 35. Leadership and Perplex. Unique modifier. When Stripe uses leadership and succeeds, this turn when he uses Perplex to target another friendly character, he may instead modify combat value, accept damage +2. He's indomitable. He flies. He's got the Justice League of America team ability. Tom, Stripe, what do you think of him?
Cool. I think that for 35 points, he's offering quite a lot, if not longevity. But honestly, 35 points, there are tons of pieces that aren't offering longevity. But you've got an 18 defend taxi with leadership, perplex, the potential for a double perplex, and depending upon your team composition, maybe even that Justice League Unlimited keyword or team ability, I should say. And so, sorry, trait is what I was going for. And he can move with +1 movement because of that awesome team ability. So I think he's offering quite a bit at 35. And at 90, he's an efficient little package. He's pretty vulnerable to outwit or penetrating damage. I mean, to some extent, there's almost no way to have top dial impervious and me not to see it going away in a competitive setting, just because there's so many ways to get around penetrating damage. I mean, outwit is common, but between outwit or penetrating damage, it's extremely common. And so it's a bit of a hard sell for me in a lot of cases. But I do like the fact that he's got at least a stop click to back it up so that if it does turn into tissue paper, he's not going down to one shot. And if otherwise, he's got a lot of powerful output. And if he wins at leadership, then he could turn himself into a 20D. So that's not necessarily so easy to hit. So decent at 90, and I think very playable at 35.
All right. Mike?
Yeah, I pretty much agree. It is nice that he does have that stop click on his second last click if you are playing him at 90, but he really is soft, even though it's an 18. It's so easy to rip through that. Everybody knows. So I think it's too many points to invest in somebody like that. But the 35 point has so much going on, really. I mean, he's the potential to take a token off of two different characters in each turn, right? Because between the Justice League Unlimited trait and his leadership, you could be double token removing off of people. That's pretty huge. Double perplex is huge. The fact that it's a stop click means that defend and invulnerability isn't outwittable. I think he's got a lot going on for 35. I think he would be that much more crazy if he had better keywords. His keywords limit him, I think, from being really something that you would be looking at meta. Though Armor has had some things added to it recently. Arno Stark is out there. So, something to look at. But definitely 35 points. I mean, you really got to look at that.
And there's so much Justice League, like in this set particularly, and there's a little bit out there that it's always going to be a kind of a second level looking for its opportunity to punch up.
Yeah, exactly. The figure coming out in the to get from this set means that you'll see him, and in fact, I think you can see him competitive. I assume somebody's going to try a Justice League themed competitive team. Why wouldn't you? Especially again with these traits and being able to take off tokens like that. I just would say he's like tier B meta, you know what I mean? He's not going to run away right out of the gate because of that, but there's so much potential going on at 35. You can't overlook that.
Yeah.
And the only thing I'm going to add is, like, if I'm starred for attackers on my seal pulls, I'd probably throw this guy for sure at 90. Nothing wrong with that.
Sure. I mean, again, he's got that stop click, so you're not going to one-hit kill him at least.
All right, next up, we have Stargirl. Stargirl has the Justice League 7 Soldiers and Cosmic Keyword. She's got the Justice League Unlimited trait, which we already talked about. The Starlight Snares is her second trait. Once per turn, when Stargirl hits a standard opposing character...
Stargirl hits!
Choose one. A hit character has immobile until your next turn, or after resolution, Stargirl can use telekinesis at no cost, but only to target a hit character and modifies her attack by +3 for that action. And then her last click is a special defense power. I don't need a babysitter, Pat, which is stop and energy shield. Playable at either 60 or 30 points with 6 range and flight. The Justice League team ability. Mike, your thoughts on Stargirl?
She's okay. I mean, I feel like we've seen better Stargirls in the past who did more interesting things. The trait's kind of cool should you hit, but I don't know if you're really fielding her as an attacker on your team. You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't really look like that's what you're doing with her. An 18 seems nice, but it's super soft defensively. Stop click makes her not totally unreasonable, but if you're considering playing her in any way, I think you have to look at 30 points because you've got the and her power set and that trait make her seem a little more support character. I just really can't imagine playing her competitive. And honestly, if I pulled her in sealed, I'd probably be a little sad that she's in the super rare slot because she just doesn't really seem like she's bringing much to the table in terms of power or support, either or. Again, except for maybe playing her 30 points. Maybe you're trying to pull off a theme team in sealed and you had the points there, but I'm not seeing it on her.
All right. Tom?
I mean, I'll be a little more charitable only because I think an 18 ESD is not bad. Like, you're forcing your opponent to close the gap. Since they're not very likely to hit that 20 or even 21, considering she's a flyer, there's no reason to stay out of hindering. So, it's going to be a hard range shot. It's a high enough number that it really is hard. She's, of course, outwittable, but she does have the stop click to back it up if she does get hit by some big damage. And I kind of like the Starlight Snares. I like the fact that the telekinesis just says that you have to target the hit character. So you can do that by throwing an object, but you can also do that to just grab them and pull them towards you, which is a great way of sort of, it's like a mini kill box kind of. She comes out, she gets a hit, and then pulls the opponent over with TK that is unlikely to miss at that point, and lets the rest of your team pounce. Or potentially, TK them away that's more useful to your team. I mean, like again, once per, it's not based on ranged attacks. So if somebody tries to lock her down by getting next to her, then she could potentially punch them and then TK them away. So I think that there's some usefulness there. So I do think I'd be happy to see her in sealed for 60 points. I think she's pulling her weight, but I agree with Mike that in she's an outside chance in constructed.
If she didn't have to hit, I would agree. But it's the fact that she's got a hit and she's only got a 10 attack, and it feels like the kill box idea. I thought of that too, but it's like, well, it feels like you'd have to waste some perplexes on her to get her to successfully hit something of value to pull it back to kill it.
Right.
Which means you've wasted some perplexes. Like, it just feels.
But I mean, by the same token, I like the 3 damage, 10 attack RCE is kind of nice too. Again, like I guess I'm being a bit charitable, if only because I think it's not a bad power set for 60 points, just base. But you're right. I just don't see it in constructed. In fact, I don't see it in constructed at 30 either, since the attack's too low to be useful. Stop click's nice, but still pretty papery. Like there's not really nothing stopping you just hitting her with knockback into a wall and KOing her in one go. So, it's a hard sell.
I'm not disagreeing with anything that was said. So we move now to the super rare Wonder Woman of the Justice Lords. Also has Amazon and Ruler and Warrior keywords in addition to Justice Lords keyword. The Justice Lords trait, which you're going to see across other Justice Lords as well. God, that word is going to be a pain in the butt. When Wonder Woman damages an opposing character with an attack, after resolutions, deal that character 1 unavoidable damage. If that character is not KO'd, immediately heal it 1 click.
Remember death?
Yeah, it's like death, but kind of doing a little bit more work for like what 10 points more. The President has fallen is the second trait. When Wonder Woman damages an opposing character, after resolutions, choose one. A hit character loses all keywords for the rest of the game, or modify an attack and damage +1 on each other friendly character with the Justice Lord's keyword until the end of turn. On her last 3 clicks, she's got a special movement power, damaging and brutal, which gives her flurry and plasticity. On her first 3 clicks, she's got a special defense power that gives her the Princess of Themyscira, energy shield deflection, invulnerability, protected outwit, protected pulse wave. So the power itself is protected outwit, protected pulse wave, not the character. 90 points, indomitable flies. I'm just going to take the lead on this one. Please do. It's your typical beat stick, 0 range on the character. And this is one of those characters that when it works, and when it doesn't, it's sad to just watch it get shot on the way there. And like we've seen a kind of with the last set, we saw really an uptick in the quality versus points on close combat characters that also sort of was preceded by WWE. I don't feel like we get the same value for buck on this character. That said, the Justice Lord trait, it looks really cool, and I kind of have to see it in action because the idea is you get that 1 extra click that might put them over, which is great. And there is, if you saw, there's a flash that triggers off of other characters getting healed, and he heals, which would trigger off of this ability. So there's a lot of bonker stuff that can start to go on with this with these Justice Lords that could feed that. But on face value, I'm going to be okay with this in sealed. I'm not super excited for it for constructed play. If we were in a world where this character had a ID card, I'd be more excited. But this is one of those situations. The keywords she has are okay, but none of them are kind of flying out at me as like, I got to include this Wonder Woman in something. But again, it's a cool character, just doesn't wow me per se. What do you think, Tom?
I feel like I'm gradually becoming the great defender of 18 ESD, since that's what I'm about to talk about once again, is that 18 ESD is awesome, coming with her own perplex to make that a 21 defense on her way up. Like, that's not that easy to hit. I think she could cross the map. She's in more danger perhaps of getting tied down by someone that she doesn't want to be next to than I think getting shot down quite a bit, given that it's protected at wit. And I like that it's protected pulse wave too. It's a shame that she can still take penetrating damage and get knocked down, but your psychic blasts are going to have to go through, are going to have to do some work when they're dealing with ESD and perplex. I mean, at that point, you're at a 21 defense, even in constructed. Yes, in constructed we did get 13, 14 attacks. That still requires like a 7 or 8, and that's even odds. I think there's potential there. Unfortunately, the zero range is troubling. I mean, if you throw some Remaker on her, or throw Nightbringer on her for some stealth to supplement everything else that she's got and stuff, I don't know. I feel like there's an outside chance. I like Ruler, not as much as Mike, but I like Ruler, and I like Warrior. That's Eddie Guerrero. So I think that there's an outside possibility. I'm trying to think of what the really awesome implications of making your opponent lose keywords are, and there are some good ones,
props.
but yeah, okay, yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one, especially considering there's a piece in this set that makes theme prob the only viable prob. So there's that's interesting. I don't mind her yet. I'm going to keep her in the back of my mind.
Fair enough. It must be nice to be able to rely on defenses.
If you can't rely on a 21, you can't rely on anything.
How about you, Mike?
I kind of dig her. I understand everything Tom's saying, and I don't disagree. There's something exciting about this character that can, all on her own, attack. If she picks up a heavy object, she can attack with a 12 attack, doing 6 damage theoretically, because she's got a 3 base. She gets the +2 from the heavy, and then there's the extra 1 unavoidable. So she could be doing 6 and throw her perplex on her attack instead of worrying about adding it to damage. So a 90-point character having a 12 attack, 6 damage with a heavy is pretty cool to me. The protected, outwit, and pulse wave definitely make her defenses much harder to deal with. Just like Tom pointed out, even though Pensai gets through it, you still got to deal with a 20, if not 21. You don't have a choice in. Right? She's a flyer, so she's either going to be in hindering or she's going to use the perplex on her own defense. And negating keywords, or giving the rest of your team, if you happen to make a Justice Lord's team, have the rest of your team have a +1 attack and +1 damage afterwards. Again, when she can make herself have a 12 attack already, all of that seems really good to me. I agree that there is some limitations with the keywords. Her point values, I think, also, because it's just a charge thing, it's a little limiting, but I for sure would look at playing her if I pulled her in sealed, and I definitely will play around with building her into some teams on a constructed team. The 90 points, again, I think there's other stuff out there that's probably better suited at those points, but she's pretty cool. I think she's really cool, and I'm excited for more in this set and more of the Justice Lords.
I think that she's also, just to point out, if there's any truth in the rumors that have been going around that we may be getting a severe cut to ID cards in the next retirement. I mean, we know we're going to get some, and just how many remains to be seen. But the more we lose, I think she's actually kind of decent as an attacking piece. I mean, if she's not getting cut down by ID characters, I think she can maybe hold her own. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
That's kind of where my head is at as well. In the current meta and the current sort of market of things, I look at this 90-point character and I think of other 90-point characters that I would maybe consider more, that do a little more and can be call-ins. I mean, I'd pick War Machine over her right now. He's 90 points.
I'd probably pick Captain Marvel at 95.
There you go, Captain Marvel at 95. So I thought she was 90 at the lower points.
No, she's 95.
Okay,
sadly.
but even then, so it's still close enough to say, yeah. That's why I say I think currently there's enough stuff out there, especially with IDs, that I would want to pick somebody else over her. But if IDs all go, come on, she's a beat stick. She's fun.
Yeah, beat sticks are good.
My name is Jason, and I've been abused by my own high defenses. All right, next up we have the Green Lantern team-up card. This is number 10. It looks like 10 seems to be the peak number we've seen in a few of them, though I don't know.
Oh, good. Only 10.
Yeah. So it's Green Lantern Corps, Justice League, and Soldier keywords. Episode team up Batman and Wonder Woman. If both listed friendly characters are on the map, Green Lantern can use probability control and can use it twice each turn. And then after, just as a reminder for anybody who might not have caught what the bracket text after this. After revealing forces, you may replace a game element's default card with an alternate card. You can't choose a team up card if any characters on your sideline force share the name. Sorry, on your starting force, not sideline force. Apologize on that one. He's got the Justice League Unlimited trait. He's got a special movement power on his first 2 clicks. All aboard, move. Green Lantern can carry regardless of flight symbol and modify speed +1 for each carried character with the Justice League JLA team ability. Move up to his speed value. 65 points. Indomitable. Flight. 7 range. Green Lantern team ability. Justice League team ability. Tom, your thoughts on this team up card of the Green Lantern?
Well, I mean, obviously the card's awesome. Double prob, yeah, man.
Yeah.
But then again, if in theory we are mostly a show that talks about competitive play, you're really doing something if you're managing to put together a team that has Batman, Wonder Woman, and Green Lantern and is still viable.
Mm-hmm.
So it greatly increases the potential viability of that triplicate, but it would still have to be a pretty good triplicate to be worth doing in a competitive setting. Otherwise, the piece himself is good. I mean, like, I think it's weird that his special is specifically action. I guess the idea being that if you've got other ways of moving him, like, you know, free moves from Captain America or give him sidestep somehow, then he's not able to use that, which is kind of unfortunate, I guess. Otherwise, though, I mean, like, he's carrying your entire team, and if they happen to be Justice League characters, he's basically not modifying for doing it. Coupled with the fact that TK and Barrier are both awesome, all adds up to justifying his not cheap cost of 65. I think he's decent.
All right, Mike.
I would just say that I think there's Wonder Woman's out there that you could make a viable team with him and them on it. I mean, I look at things like the Batman from, I guess, is it the Rare from the animated set who has the Batarang?
Yep.
Who can make that attack after. So he would pair up well with this Green Lantern, since this Green Lantern can carry him 12 squares, and then he can make a free attack of another 4 squares with the Batarang that sees through everything.
Actually, you can carry him 13 squares because he's got Justice League team ability and the +1 for carrying Batman.
That's right.
There you go. But I thought the fact that it said move with brackets up to a speed value meant that they still cap it at 12. That the pluses were that he wouldn't get the minuses from carrying people.
It doesn't
and
say
then it caps.
No, it doesn't say printed speed value. So you still calculate his speed value and then move.
Okay, cool. So even better, right? And and I think there's still some Wonder. We just saw Wonder Woman who's pretty cool, you know. But I agree with you in general. Quite seen enough there, but you know, it's funky and a double prob, man. I just like really re-rolling my dice. Okay, let's just be fair. Yeah. Anytime I can re-roll my dice, lots of times I'm immediately biased and I like it.
I think the grandest stretch I would pull is possibly putting the Wonder Woman and Batman on the team from the Super Friends chases from Batman animated series. But it hurts me to say it.
Well, they're cheap if nothing else. Like, you've got lots more team to build. So.
Yeah. And I mean, the Batman does have a wit of some sorts, and Wonder Woman has that free drop an action token on somebody, right? Multiple characters in some situations. That said, I'm going to tap Jay on this one. It's a perfectly balanced figure, which is probably why we won't see it in competitive play.
Yeah, dude's got a point.
Yeah. All right. Next up, speak of the devil, we got Batman.
Hey.
With the Batman family, Gotham City, Justice League, and Detective keywords. This is the team-up card for Superman and Wonder Woman. If both friendly listed characters are on the map when Batman or the listed character attack and their final attack roll includes a 3, then modify attack by +3. He's got a Justice League Unlimited trait. He's got a special attack power. I'll take it from here. Opposing characters within 6 squares and line of fire using impervious, shape change, or super senses decrease their roll for these powers by -1. A 6 always succeeds. And then he's 70 points. Batman team ability, Justice League of America team ability. This is all right. Well, we're at our peak card here. Card number 11 of his team ups, or is that 1-1? I don't know if the numbering system is right like that. But anyway,
Yikes.
Mike.
Didn't I see one which would have had a 25? I could have sworn I saw a 0.25. Like it's going to be a ridiculous number, guys.
Or maybe there's just like 25 team up cards, and this is like team up card number 11 of the 20. I don't know. I'm hoping for too much. I think.
Yeah, we're all hoping for
What
a
do you
lot
think,
of stuff.
Mike, on Batman?
I mean, his team up thing is neat. Definitely, if you're playing a Trinity team, that'd be kind of cool to all of a sudden have a +3 to your attack. In most cases, that's probably going to hit. Right, most cases. So I mean, you got to figure it this way: the minimum that is going to be a 7,
Right?
Because if you rolled a 3, the lowest the other die being is a 1, is a 4, with a +3 to it is a 7. Right? I mean, so a 7 is a pretty good roll in most cases.
I'll take a
sell I'll sell my soul for a 7 with regularity. Like, hello. The attack power is pretty cool. I'm surprised that he doesn't have Indomitable and that they actually use slots for willpower on him. That feels a little off to me for a Batman, but maybe I'm just biased because Batman beats everything. I know. I just, and he is actually not the Prime, apparently, because he is a 005A. Yeah, that's right. Oh God,
Karaoke Batman.
Oh, WizKids, you've done so much to make me love you. Don't turn on me now.
Oh, you don't like Karaoke Batman? They didn't give us Pig Wonder Woman, at least.
Oh God, I would have taken Pig Wonder Woman over Karaoke Batman, but that's a whole other kettle of fish. No, wait,
Batman do karaoke in an episode? Is that what the reference?
Yes, in fact, it's in that episode because he has to convince Circe to turn Wonder Woman back into a human from a pig. So he sings. She gets him to sing because everybody's always wanted to hear Batman sing. It's like a whole thing, and it's great because it's Kevin Conroy actually singing, and he sings a love song. Oh God, I cannot remember the name of the song.
Tom, you would remember if you knew it.
Fair enough.
I cannot remember the name of the song. I was hoping it was in the flavor text on
there it
here.
is. What song does Batman sing in This Little Piggy? Am I Blue?
Yeah, it's it. Am I blue?
Yes, I'm blue.
It's a beautiful moment too, because you see that he loves Wonder Woman. That's why he's doing it. He would never say, "Oh my God, I'm gonna get all teary." Anyway, I feel kind of lackluster about this Batman. I mean, the 12 attack and that special attack power got me sort of excited for a second, but I don't know. I feel like he's just gonna get murdered before he gets a chance to quite do anything. And the team up itself is neat. So that's cool. And let's be fair, if the other two figures also have a pretty cool team up, it could work out, right? Like, let's say the Superman might have a team up that says something like give everybody invulnerability, and then this Batman becomes that much better. So we've already mentioned before that the team up cards sort of throw this weird curveball into the whole thing. But at first glance, the Batman's a little lackluster to me, but the trait's definitely pretty cool because, like we already figured out, that means you're not rolling less than a 7, and that's hot, as provided you roll a 3.
All right. Tom?
I mean, I'm always fond of my stealth characters not having improved movement or flight of any sort. I like the way that it slows them right down so they can't deploy very well. I also like having a relatively short range in conjunction with that because then you don't get very much swing. But what I'm a big fan of is only being 5 clicks long for 70 points with no reducers. So, like, that's something that I go for in pieces quite a bit. I also like dropping down to low damage values on 10 attacks late in the dial. And I really like it when the only defense that I have after my first 2 clicks is willpower. So I think there's a lot to like about this Batman.
Fantastic.
Tom has already got 2 punching bags for this set. One with a Superman on it and the other with a Batman on it.
It's the common trinity. If it wasn't for the fact that Wonder Woman is kind of playable, then we would really be in trouble.
Well, it is funny. They haven't done this stupid thing without giving him improved movement since back Trinity War Batman, which ironically enough is my favorite Batman ever. Mm-hmm. Except for the fact that he didn't have any kind of improved movement. So he'd run into hindering only to slow himself down. With his running shot, it was the same scenario. He had running shot, 12 attack, and he was affected by hindering. Son of a...
Oh, yeah. Didn't that one have improved movement, but it was only elevated terrain?
Yeah, yeah, not hindering.
Makes a lot of sense when you think
I
about
know. I love that Batman, except for that fact. That's why he was great
Alright.
with the sniper rifle.
I climbed the building. Damn it, a bush.
Yeah, right?
it. Right?
I can leave this building. Oh no, a
Yeah.
shrub.
I am the knight. Just let me rustle through these bushes. Ah, the brambles.
I'm hiding in the. Oh, they hurt. All right. So we move from the Lucky Dice previews onto Da Vinci's DreamWorks, and the first one hits us in the chase. We have Samurai. Samurai has a Justice League, Super Friends, Martial Artist, and Warrior keywords. He's got the Trouble Alert trait, which we've seen in the Batman animated series. Long and the short of it, if you miss 3 times, if a character is the third one to miss an attack or critically misses an attack, they have this ability that says free, bring this character out on his lower point value, and if this character is out on his lower point value, courtesy of that, if you roll a die at the beginning, of your turn. If it's a 4 to 6, you deal the character 1 unavoidable damage. He's got they all come with this weird weakness, and this one has a weakness to characters that weren't on their starting force. So if he comes on and somebody calls in an ID card or shifting focuses into something that was on their sideline, they get +2 attack when attacking Samurai. And those characters themselves get +2 defense when being attacked by Samurai. But he's got a trait. I'm not going to try to say those words. That gives him Force Blast, Phasing Teleport, and Telekinesis. When he uses Force Blast or Telekinesis after resolutions, choose a character that was placed by that power and roll a d6. On a 4 to 6, you may give that character an action token, or you may remove an action token from that character, knocking back places characters. It puts in brackets, by the way.
Yeah, it's the first thing I thought of. I was like, and then I resolved it in my head. But yeah.
All right, Mike, you get first dibs at Samurai.
Oh my god, I'm so excited for Samurai. I am. I love this character back. I was really sad when we got Apache Chief, but we didn't get Samurai. Kazinoto Nayaku.
There it is. Thank you.
I think he's great. I'm totally going to play him at 30 points because why wouldn't I want to TK one of my friendly guys and take a token off of him? What? I mean, sure, you still got to roll a d6 to make it happen, but hot damn 50.
Hey, or give a token to them. I don't mind the idea of TKing forward Immortal Hulk, giving him a token, and letting him push to get onto his good click while he calls somebody in, then they charge for free.
All kinds of great stuff. Like he's fantastic. I don't even know. Like love him. I think he's great. Obviously, we already know he's really soft, and he's going to be super soft to like a Cyclops call-in who's going to just zord him. But absolutely. I mean, it's a 30-point character who's got TK that could take a token off, and martial artist is not so bad. Warrior. Like you already mentioned before, Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero's already hot, and we know he's going to get played. And we just got a ton of Justice League stuff. So for sure, I think he has way more value on the map than ever as a sideline call-in. I mean, you may want to have it there as a trouble alert because maybe you're desperate for that extra TK down the line. But I just think you're more likely looking at him as a 30-point figure starting on the map.
All right. Tom?
Yeah, I agree with everything Mike said. I would even say he's not terrible for 50 points. I mean, he does at least give you 6 clicks of life with a pretty stout opening defense. He's a taxi. And, I mean, I guess he could, I like the fact that he's a taxi with sidestep, meaning that there's an outside possibility you might occasionally even use Smoke Cloud. But I doubt it. That being said, I like it for all the things that Mike said and more besides. And I'm always happy to see another martial artist because in the back of my mind for a little bit longer, I'm always thinking about Green Arrow. Good old Green Arrow is not so easy to build with, but Green Arrow could use a TK.
Mm-hmm. I am going to slightly defend the call-in for the Super Friends on it because in a tough situation, you've had a bad turn. Obviously, your dice aren't helping you, and in the right positioning, he could give you a damage with poison on his Trouble Alert dial and throw in on the right position again that Force Blast to throw somebody off of a building or into a wall that could potentially be up to 2 free damage in the right situations. You get the choice on Trouble Alerts anyway, so, all in all, I think he's a solid one that can, that extra damage that you could be doing could also come in a pinch with the extra action token on top of that. So it could be a big burst that really catches your opponent off guard. But that'll be, my take on that one. Yeah. All right. Next up, Booster Gold. Justice League International Celebrity and Future Keywords, Justice League Unlimited trait. Then he's got the Crowd Control trait, which gives him Barrier as free, but only to generate 2 markers. Oh, only 2 markers? I wonder if we ever had a meta game where that might have been good. Sorry, I'm already starting my review on it. He's got special attack power, 25th century technology, which gives him Incapacitate and Knockback. He's got a special damage power on his first 4 clicks. Skeet's Booster Gold's biggest fan. Perplex and Probability Control. When Booster Gold uses Perplex to target himself, he may instead modify a combat value except damage +2. He's 80 points with Indomitable, 6 range with 2 targets, jail 18 building. That Crowd Control trait is amazing. We know it's amazing because we spent a lot of time with guys with the wall in the on the Green Lantern meta. That said, this is a beefy character to put a lot of points into as we enter a future where we have to kind of think about what we're putting things on, what things we're putting on our character. Now, effectively, he's got +2 to a lot of stats with his Perplex, which is great. He's got Running Shot, which is great, and he's got the ability to just do Knockback, which can come in real good, real handy when you need it, and that could be with a 12 attack. When he perplexes himself. That also has probability control. So, sealed bombshell. Metagame, I'm 50-50 on him. I like him. He's really cool. There's a lot to him. But there is, in the competitive game, this guy has a lot of squish factor to him. His 6 range is the peak of his probability control. So somebody outside of the 6, we've seen a couple characters with 7, 8 range. He's not probbing them. I still think he's worth a consideration, but he's not just out there, oh my god, this guy's going to break the metagame. He's just really good, all said. And, the barrier in the right maps and the right positioning can really also help to protect him from his squishiness, especially when we enter that era where we don't have to worry about Cyclops just blowing through your barriers. So, yeah, I'm a 1 thumb up, 1 thumb sideways on Booster Gold, and this thumb is tweaking towards up, to say the least. Tom, what do you think of Booster Gold?
I don't have a lot to add. I really like him. The only thing I don't like is that his dial really declines towards the end.
Yeah.
But he's always got that double free barrier. He can always put it up behind somebody and then hit them and knock them back into it. That's cool. Hey, free barrier is always cool. And I think you more or less covered it. I just think he's not doing anything, one particular thing that we've never seen before, but he does. It's just a Booster Gold fan because they're usually good, and this is one of those few all around would just be fun and valuable to play.
All right, Mike.
I would just add in an extra boost. Funnily enough, I know Booster Gold. Because of celebrity keyword. Because I look at him, I look at 75-point Mojo who has celebrity, and then I look at a whole guys. So I think there's a thing there. There's something there. I agree overall, and I totally agree. Like, he looks squishy, and if I just look at him and whatever, but a taxi flying character who makes 2 free barriers that has prob and perplex on a celebrity team. I don't know. I don't know. I opened up HC Realms and I'm starting to build. So that's where I'll leave that.
Here's the thing that I find interesting about him, as a side note. He's the sort of piece that I would have been excited about back in the days of possessors and batteries. Because I feel like he's bringing so much to the table to begin with that you basically just give him the things he needs to do to round it out. Does he need to be a little tougher? You choose your battery and your possessor accordingly. Does he need more aggressive power? You choose those things accordingly. Because he just seems like a great base from which to build for only 80 points.
I also, one last little note, I wonder if it's worth it for the 35 points for Skeets. What do you +2 at that point? Range, I think. Anyway, moving on. We have Martian Manhunter team up card. This one's got the Justice League International, and Detective keywords. His team up is Hawkgirl. If the listed friendly character is on the map, Martian Manhunter has flight symbol. And if they already have flight symbol, they can use ignores characters for movement. After revealing force, that's the stuff we already know. Justice League Unlimited trait, and then his next trait, shape shifting and intangibility. Shape change and super senses. When Martian Manhunter uses shape change and succeeds, you may change the target of the attack to a character other than the attacker that is adjacent to Martian Manhunter, even if otherwise an illegal target. Then he's got a special movement power, first 4 at 100 or first click at 50. I am not from around here. A mind control phasing teleport. When Martian Manhunter uses phasing teleport and moves 4 squares or less after resolutions, he may make a close attack. He is in down roll. He flies and has a Justice JLA team ability. Tom, your thoughts on the team up card for Martian Manhunter?
Well, what do I have to say? He's awesome, isn't he? He got traded shape change and super senses and thick defenses all the way down the dial. He's valuable at both point values. The only thing that gives me pause at the 50 point value is that someone takes a penetrating shot at him, and as soon as you get 2 lousy dice rolls, then he just dies. And it's not likely. I know that the odds are not on that happening, but somehow, I don't know, the odds seem reflexive to themselves in some ways. They'll say, oh yeah, you think it's unlikely that you're going to hit, then you will. So you never trust the dice, but this guy's got a lot of things to give you reason to do so. He's also just got leadership. He's got fantastic values. He's obviously a taxi, and he can charge. He's got mind control. I really think this is a good piece.
Mike?
Yeah, I can't argue with any of that. I mean, anytime you get shape change and super senses on a figure for basically nothing, right? When it's a trade, it's nothing. It's not taking up a slot. It's not doing anything. Oh my God! Like I can't stop looking at anything but that. You know how much I like shape change and super senses. It saves my bacon like all the time. I don't know how to win this game. I just roll super senses.
Isn't it weird though that his team up card gives him flight, which he already has? And if he already has flight, he can use improved movement characters when he starts with phasing.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
specifically, is like,
I know.
This feels like the worst possible team up of the cards that you can give him. And I've seen the Aquaman one for Superman.
it's more that I think it's supposed to help her, but I thought the Hawkgirl I saw had improved movement ignored characters already.
Well, and it doesn't it say that when he teams up with Hawkgirl, it's Martian Manhunter
gains flight,
has flight,
they already have flight.
Yeah, but they being
Martian Manhunter, not both.
Yeah, that is stupid.
Kind of stupid, right? It's like at the end, if he gets outwitted, he can still use improved movement characters, or at the end dial, like very limited application.
Like it helps you really more on the 50-point one because you only have phase teleport on 1 click. So when you go to sidestep, you don't have to roll to break away. Woohoo!
Yeah, great.
I'm starting to think that there's a reason these team ups don't cost points.
It's just weird design by every measure.
But let's look at it this way again. Who knows what other team-up cards this Martian Manhunter could have? And we already think he's crazy with the whole shape change super senses thing. So what the hell?
I'm just going to follow the same rule with him that I've followed with every other team I've ever played. Don't team with Hawkgirl.
I think I'm the only guy I can think of who's used the Hawkgirl.
And here we are, yes.
Because I've only ever used a super friend, and I've only ever used it on a sideline to call in the birds.
You gotta swipe, because... Just do it. Just go to the next preview.
Hey, look! Hawkgirl!
And hey, look! Improved movement ignores character.
Is that who we're talking about next?
Yep. Hawkgirl, the team-up card with Justice League and Warrior keyword. Team up, Martian Manhunter. If the listed friendly character is on the map, Hawkgirl can use shape change.
Can she already?
Somebody is winning. Somebody is winning this relationship, and I just don't want to put it out loud.
Clearly
Justice
it's
League
Hawkgirl.
Unlimited trait. Then Nth Metal Mace. When Hawkgirl hits a character with the mystical keyword, after resolutions, deal that character 1 penetrating damage. She got a special movement power on her first click at 60, her first click at 30, which is like click 1 and 4. Charge and Flurry. She has Indomitable, Justice League of America team ability. Mike, Hawkgirl's yours.
I would obviously, if I'm playing 50-point Martian Manhunter, maybe I give him the spin ring to give him some TK. Then yeah, let's play her because now she's got shape change. She already ignores characters. I mean, you can't deny that a 12 attack on a charge flurry with 3 base damage is pretty hot for a 60-point character. Even the 11 attack and 3 base damage, 30 points. I mean, she's got 3 base damage all the way down the line. So economically, you got to consider this Hawkgirl. Even if without a team-up card, she's a flying character who never has to roll to break away. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think you definitely have to consider looking at her as something that could fill into a meta team. Her keywords limit her a bit, but warrior is a good keyword, and as we've mentioned over and over again, Eddie Guerrero. So yeah, there's something there, but definitely she's winning out in this relationship. Like when they split up, she got all the best stuff in the divorce.
Tom?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you play local to the Greater Toronto area, then being able to do extra damage against mystical keyworded characters like Mojo is a damage hit on Mike.
Damn it, my Undertaker's going to take more.
Otherwise, I agree with Mike. She's hot at both point values, frankly. Like, 2 of her for 60 points is pretty awesome, too. That's a lot of attack coming at you. And yeah, she'll probably die, but she'll die because she has to. Like, she'll die because your opponent will be like, oh no, Hawkgirl's going to kill me. I need to deal with her. And I'm okay with that being the reason that she's being taken out, because she's distracting from the other 240 or 270 points of your team by being too much of a threat to ignore. So I just think that, what you see is what you get, and she's pretty decent.
You just won't be able to do 2 Hawkgirls if you're doing the team up.
Right.
That's fair. Yeah.
That's the only thing. But yes, absolutely. She's great, right? Yeah. Economical ass whooping.
Yeah, man.
That's good flurb, as her toughness says. All right. And last on the Da Vinci's DreamWorks, we have another Lex Luthor team-up card. Now, we've already talked about this Lex Luthor dial in a previous episode. You can check out, I think it's last week's actually, where we talked about this Lex Luthor dial. So now we got to compare that dial that we talked about previously with the Shade team-up. I don't think the keywords look the same. If you team up with Shade, if the listed friendly characters on the map, Lex Luthor can use Smoke Cloud as free, but only to generate 3 markers. Does that change anybody's opinion on us, Lex Luthor? It doesn't really change mine. He's pretty okay still in my book, but I mean, it's now free Smoke Cloud, so I'll use that Smoke Cloud.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that at least he can still choose improved targeting as part of his attack power, so he doesn't bone himself technically if he has to put the smoke up. But yeah, it's nothing that makes me go, oh god, I've got to get Shade and Luthor together.
It's definitely the sort of thing that you do just for fun. He's like, put Smoke Cloud down under your opponent's stealth character and then choose improved targeting and hindering.
I meant you put it up in the square you're in. And you're shooting out of it.
I was trying to figure out what you were talking about.
You still get the -1 attack, Tom, because
joking, I can see through it.
You still get the -1 attack because Smoke Cloud was changed, where like even if you ignore hindering, you still get the -1 in the Smoke Cloud.
All right, put it around yourself. I don't know. Stupid. Anyway,
so it doesn't work the old way Smoke Cloud works.
I'm gonna put Smoke Cloud down underneath you and then target with an attack. No, you won't. Oh, yes, I will.
Might as well just shoot and then Smoke Cloud.
Whoa. That's not how the professionals do it.
That's exactly how they do it, isn't it?
That's awesome. No, I don't feel any differently about him.
Cool. We'll just pass on then to the figures from Mr. Clix Fix's video. If you check below in the YouTube, there's a YouTube link down below, that takes you to that video where he shares some of his thoughts. welcome to the preview party, Mr. Clixfix. And we have the super rare Hawkgirl, which is a Justice Lord character. Justice Lord keyword mystical past ruler warrior. Justice Lord's trait, and then Thanagarian Nth Metal. When Hawkgirl hits, after resolutions, you may choose an object equipped to a hit character and remove it from the game. This can affect indestructible equipment, which are scored normally. Aside from that, it's a 70-point dial. It's indomitable, that flies. It's what you see, what you get. Powers. Tom, you get the lead on Hawkgirl, the super rare.
I mean, before I go into it, a brief note of clarification. Like, it would always have affected indestructible. They're just clarifying. They're doing one of those things they do where they clarify something that already is the case so that it's super obvious, I guess.
Yes. Some players will be like, but it's indestructible. Yeah, but I'm removing it from the game because they don't quite understand the differential between destroying and removing from the game.
All right.
Anyway.
Fair enough. What do I think? I love the fact that she gets rid of equipped object. I mean, that's really cool. But it's not in and of itself a reason for me to want to play her. And I mean, what do you have to do, really? Right? She's a flying hypersonic character with precision strike, enough damage to crack impervious, and she's got an 18 super senses up front, and she's indomitable. So, like, shouldn't that be enough? She's unquestionably good. I don't think you could ever say that this is a bad use of points, but she's not bringing anything to the table that makes me excited enough to want to play her over a lot of other things. She's like, in a way, I'm sorry to say this, but she's just a decent attacker. I'll play her in sealed 100% of the time. In other words, I think she's a bit of a hard sell. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Mike?
I can't.
All right.
Yeah, this is Leonardo's little sister. Remember Space Leonardo? We all thought this is gonna be it. This is gonna be the thing Rex. I've learned. I have learned.
Yeah,
I have learned
and he
my
didn't even have
lesson.
to hit anybody.
Yeah, you just had to. You had to try to equip it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we saw him wreck the game, right? I mean, he's been used. Don't get me wrong. People tried to use him, and that ended where it did. So, Tom said it best. It's good. I'm not singing his praises as far as breaking the game in competitive play. All right, next up. Warhawk, Justice League, Armor, Cosmic, Future, Police, and Warrior keywords. His first trait, Boom Tube Travel, which we'll see on a couple other characters. Once per game, phasing teleport. When Warhawk uses it, his speed value is 12, and after resolutions, remove an action token from him. His other trait, The Skies Are My Home, you're just a trespasser. Attack +1, but only if targeting a character with flight. Defense +1, but only when targeted by a character without flight. Hawkman's sortie dive? Whatever. His special movement power. Dive! Charge. Adjacent friendly characters with flight can use charge. Special defense power, which he has on his first 3 clicks or his first click on his 50 point dial. Thanagarian armor owned, American military honed. Energy shield deflection, invulnerability, and willpower. Mike, you get the first dibs on Warhawk.
This is like the invulnerability ESD set on defense. So what's up with these special powers with that? I'm glad at least there's willpower in there. I was sad to not see him have Indomitable because Warhawk really should. The daughter of Green Lantern and Hawkgirl should have Indomitable. It's kind of weird. But anyway, he's an interesting character. I'm happy to see that special move power is on both of his point values because that makes me a little more excited for him than other things because at least now you can have this figure on your team. He can be sort of a secondary attacker, but he can turn some flying characters into some surprise attackers themselves. However, I don't really see him being something that's going to come part of the competitive because there's so many better things out there right now for 50 or 75 points that bring more to a team. His keywords are okay. I think he's got a lot of neat stuff going on, and definitely if I pull him in sealed, I'd be interested in playing him. He could be a pretty solid fighting piece, but I don't think we're going to see him make any big splash or waves.
All right, Tom.
I agree. I don't think I have much that I can add. Mike said it well.
I'm going to give. I've been to the school of Tom's sarcasm now.
Okay,
You know what?
please.
3 great powers: energy shield, deflection, invulnerability, and willpower. You know how I want to lose all 3 of those powers? 1 outwit.
Mm.
All right. I hope I went and messed that up. Last figure of the preview. It's
Well,
Static. Whoops. And I went and hit dev mode, and I've lost my plot. Static is Justice League and future keywords. Also has the boom tube travel trait. Boom tube
So
travel
hard
trait.
for you.
Jeez Louise.
Boom tube travel.
Yeah, but now add the word trait.
Boom tube travel trait.
Ah, there it is. See? 10,000 volts of flying junkyard is the second trait, which gives him energy shield deflection. Force blast. If static is within 3 squares of a debris marker.
10,000 volts of flying junk.
If static is within 3 squares of a debris marker, modify static's combat values +1. It says 10,000 volts of flying junkyard, right?
I just read it as 10,000 volts of flying junk.
Now you're seeing the character. Chain Lightning is a special damage power on his first and his last 3 clicks. When Static makes an attack with more than 1 target, modify damage +1 for each target within 3 squares of him, and after resolutions, give a hit character an action token. Okay, hold on a second. If Static's within 3 squares of a debris marker... Oh, debris. Sorry, that's an actual debris made by destroying something. I thought that was going to be a special marker. I totally forgot. Okay, anyway. 100 points, flies, 5 range with 3 targets, JLA team ability. I don't want to start on this one. Tom, you can take this one.
Oh, thank you. Wow, great. 10,000 volts of flying junk. That's
appropriate.
Yeah. That's all I'm thinking.
I didn't want to say it because you already said it.
Yeah, no kidding. This is 100 points of flying junk. I mean, come on, man.
Static. Did Static get worse with experience?
Oh God. Oh, it's awful.
17.
What's happening? Like, why can't it be 75 points? I don't know. I'm struggling to find something innovative to say because it's not terrible, but it doesn't like sync up that well with anything. Like he doesn't produce his own, so it's not going to be so easy to get those +1 combat values. If you build a team around trying to take advantage of it, then certainly +1 to can look at the same dial and add +1 to all the values, and it does look pretty good, except for the last. But he has to get pretty close to really pull off that chain lightning thing, close enough that I'm afraid that he's going to get damaged. There sure is a lot of ESD in the set with not a ton of range for the most part. And I, TK is never really what I want to see on my primary attacker, or at least one of my primary attackers, as this guy would have to be. So I struggle to come up with anything really positive to say. He's not terrible, but he's flying junk.
Mike?
Yeah, it's there's a disconnect there again, because in one way it's like, okay, fine, running shot, multi-target with this damage power that clearly could do a lot of with triple target. You gave him TK like he's a support character. And you only give him a 17 defense. Like, he's just going to get smoked. Like, we just know it.
Yeah.
Any points for that. And exactly like Tom said, if this was 75 points or 70 points, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I'll consider it, because that's why his defense is so low, because we're paying points for this big damage. But 100 points? Nah, man, you're offering up 100 points to your opponent. That's what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This looks like a character that started design like 2 weeks before design was due. And they had this like a whole bunch of great ideas, and they started taking things off and just left it all behind. Like, oh crap, we forgot to modify the points, and we got left with this. It's like that's everything that feels like. And before we kind of move on, I do want to point out an important thing that the Boom Tube Travel does. When you look, for those who may be unfamiliar, there's a neat little timing thing with regards to how this is going to work. The trigger for the Boom Tube Travel occurs after actions resolve. But you put the action token on a character when they make an action on the character immediately after resolution. So the first thing when you're resolving all actions, you put the action token on. It's like kind of set in stone. And then you can start to stack your resolutions from there. So the Boom Tube Travel, you'll add your action token, and then you, if they have no action tokens, you add that action token, then you remove it post resolutions. So worth noting, it's kind of like a free move that isn't free.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, exactly. It's like a free move that isn't free. I think it's really like it's a neat power, but it's great for equipping. Like you're not going to be able to equip on that same turn, I should say, but at least you come out of the first turn without an action token, so that you can equip and still be able to take actions after.
Yeah. So once again, I want to thank Lucky Dice, Da Vinci's DreamWorks, and Mr. Clix for these previews. It was great to have a chance to talk about all this in Justice League Unlimited. And it's taken us enough to talk about this, so we're going to move to questions. Before we do that, we want to take a second to thank our sponsors over at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. You guys are awesome. I'm able to send these guys a little bit on PayPal every month to keep them happy and doing this every Monday. Though if you can send us more, we're a little bit more encouraged to do it for longer hours. But thank you guys a lot. We have a little bit of edited content that we're planning on filming in April, along with, it's unboxing season. Something might come in. Who knows, right? So
Icons.
Exactly. Yeah, right? Just can't wait.
There was one on the shelf still at 401.
I can tell you,
so tiny.
If they want to send a surprise in the mail, I will be very surprised.
Yeah, that would be a surprise.
if a brick of icons showed up.
Yeah, that better arrive on April 1st.
And if they do it on April 1st, I would open it. I would do things like complain that none of the cards came in the pack. What's QA doing? That kind of stuff.
It's actually a pretty good idea. I shouldn't have given that away. That would have been a funny April Fool's thing.
That said, we're going to start on the Facebook for your questions. If you have a question, you're watching us live, pop it in the Facebook or in the YouTube chat. Put in capital letters question ahead of it. Or if you're on our Discord, which you can be part of by joining us at patreon.com/HeroClix, throw a question in there in the Troll the Metal Lab chat room. So on Facebook, Michael Fedor has 2 questions, and the first one I threw you under the bus during our patron hangout, which patrons get to do. So Tom, I was told on Friday to ask you, what are the best 3 maps power ranked today?
Oh, you should ask Jay, because high, heavy contenders on that have been more recent releases, right? Is it the King's Tomb? I can never remember the actual name of it. Sadly, as much as I hate how oppressive it is, I also love how oppressive it is, and it definitely has to be on that list. So I think that's definitely, in a lot of ways, I almost feel like it has to be number 1. And again, I'm not as up to date on the recent rock ones, and the rock ones have a tendency to be so powerful. I think Hedge Maze is still likely pretty high on a lot of lists because of the fact that it's a combination of having so much blocking and being outdoors, so that you can shoot over it at colossals, and your flyers and improved movers can get around it so easily, and other people cannot. And so, if that's the sort of team, the sort of thing that you want to use to your advantage, then by all means do. And I mean, the more open maps are, that you always want to have one. But something like, Amok Time is always on there. Accessible, and for a less accessible alternative, then I think Mr. Chomps is another one that is very, very open. It's got some hindering certain. It's hard to block anything. So bonuses. When you include map bonuses, then I think that there are lots of other things that are valuable depending upon the type of thing that you're playing. But as far as just straight up maps, those are the 3 that come to my mind. I think Jay is even a better one to ask. So when he's back, I think we should ask him.
Poor Jay. All right, Mike, did you have any input as well, or?
Wakanda forever.
All right. Next up, he wants to know: would you like to see a character that gives a Justice League keyword, in similar in the vein to what Steve Rogers does? Mike.
Yes, but no. I don't know if how Steve Rogers is blowing up. I think a lot of that, of course, is to do with the fact that Avengers is a huge named keyword, and we just got a whole ton of Shield guys. So both those keywords have tons of stuff there, and so in that respect of no, because we've just seen it, and do we need to do that? I mean, I like that there's some restrictions to building, and sometimes it's better to force a person to have to go to keywords instead of saying, hey, here's keywords. Now let's let everybody have them. This, so on that respect, I say no. But the yes is, yeah, Justice League, it fits it. It fits it the same way like Steve Rogers, welcome to the Avengers. I think why not? Someone would have a welcome to Justice League. If I was going to pick a person, I think I would lean towards a Martian Manhunter version. If we're looking at like how Justice League Unlimited, he sent a lot of people out on the missions. Or Batman, because Batman was one of the ones who introduced a lot of people to the league. So yeah, in terms of thematically and being a comic fanboy, I'm into it, but I don't think we necessarily need another figure that comes along and basically just gives a very wide open keyword to even more people.
All right. Tom?
Yeah, I think Mike summed it up. I wish I had something really creative to add, but I don't. I also would be fine to see it, and just as fine not to.
I'm of the yes and no. No for the same reason. And Mike said, hey, they just did it. Why do we got to see it again? But I'm of the yes because of this specific reason, and that is when we lose ID cards, a lot of our teams lose a certain edge of flexibility. And giving certain keywords that a little bit of flexibility that might need to add something that they're missing, I think goes a long way in competitive play, where it allows for a little bit more wide open building where we can come up with more options. And then, I lack something in X keyword. I can add it by adding this character. I think helps a little bit. Just because, again, not every theme team is going to have a Cyclops anymore. Not every theme team is going to have a Wolverine. So how do we find a way to get that element, not necessarily from the sideline, but on the board in this case, to help the team with that current gap? But that said, we don't always have to do it, and there could be more unique ways to help these things along as opposed to, having to rely on that thing to make the game.
Well, it just makes me think of an interesting thing, though. Would it be maybe more interesting for the game if it was harder to cover all the bases when you team build? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's something to be said for I'm a little excited about IDs going away because IDs have become so common. It's almost like it's easy to cover everything because you just have an ID you throw on for, I don't have a real ranged attacker. I'll throw a Cyclops or two ID on or whatever. Like, I don't know. I guess in some ways, maybe it's more exciting and more competitive when it's harder to cover all the boxes and tick all the boxes on a team. Because now you've kind of got to pick and choose,
But that also can, in a lot of cases, lead to stagnation, where a team becomes dominant, right? So without a certain degree of flexibility, if X keyword has these things, X keyword over here has these things, these keywords can overwhelm.
What I meant was as in the game moving towards a direction where it prevents that, where that you don't allow there to be so many things that cover all the stuff. That's sort of what I was alluding to.
I just don't want to stimulate player creativity as well.
Fair enough.
That's kind of where my direction is. Like, I like the idea of being a little bit more open if I do have to close a certain number of doors.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, again, I don't want to see this happening all the time because, we start to hear when it becomes dominant, I hate it. It's new ID card. It's the new resource. If something starts to happen too much, that's when I hear the complaining, and I don't like the complaining. And I'm going to hear the complaining. It's an unavoidable thing. We're on the internet right now.
The interwebs, eh?
Yeah. And we've all read the comment section. Ours are pretty tame as
far
as
no,
concerned.
I've been told not to do that anymore.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
All right. In the Patreon Discord, David C., with all the energy shield deflection in the set, does Trick Shot add more or less to the set? Tom, what do you think?
I'm going to have to remember. He's the one. Isn't it when he would be targeted, or a friendly character with an X squares would be targeted, then you do a roll off?
Well, what happens is if a friendly character would be hit by an attack and they're within 4 squares of him,
Right.
he can roll, and if his attack plus his roll is higher than their attack plus their roll, the attack is evaded.
So how does trick shot help or hinder in a world with a lot of ESD?
In a world with all the ESD, I think he's harder to work. Kind of like how the what's it called, Nimrod, where it's like if you raise your attack against Nimrod, you dice rolls can become lower, and then it's it's
No, I
not,
don't
you
get
know
it.
what I mean?
I'm
Yeah.
I must admit I don't fully understand the relationship there. You know, are ranged attackers in general going to be hindered by the the explosion of ESD? I mean, maybe that's what he's getting at, is the trick shot just happens to be really good as a ranged attacker,
Maybe.
and will he be impacted by the presence of ESD? And I mean, if that's the question, I'm afraid I still don't know know the answer to it. But I don't think that there's a direct correlation there personally. But I'm probably missing something really obvious. So by all means, chime back in and tell me how I misinterpreted the question.
What about you, Mike?
I was just rereading the power again to be sure. Yeah, I mean, it's just once per turn, when a friendly character within 4 squares line of fire would be hit by a ranged attack, you may roll 2d6 and add trick shot's attack value if the result is higher. I mean, he's got a 12 attack, which is great, but obviously if somebody's going after somebody with ESD, they've probably put a lot into the attack to try and make the hit. So their attack is probably going to be higher than his attack. And so, yeah, I don't think it'll help him.
Dave did clarify in the Discord. He said, if it's harder to hit, it's harder for trick shot to be useful. So that's kind of the conclusion we just made.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's true.
Yeah.
All right. Fair. But
yes.
I mean, I don't think, in a way, I don't think that the preponderance of ESD is going to lead to a situation where there's a lot more higher attack values. Since if it were that easy to get higher attack values in the first place, we'd already be there. And we are seeing a lot of pieces like your Immortal Hulks and your Vultures that are already pushing it towards a close combat game. Range has always had an advantage, and I think that there are pieces coming out that are pushing the difference. So it helps further reinforce the importance of the emerging close combat game. So maybe trick shot's stock drops a little bit in that context, but I don't think really hugely.
Mike, you want to re-add or?
No, I still think that we covered that. Yeah, his power will be less effective, but
I mean, his power is only less effective if you're using him to defend somebody with energy shield. And if you're using energy shield, do you need trick shot?
Exactly.
Those are the questions I have to ask, right? So, I personally, if I have a bunch of energy shield, I'm already trying to defend against range attacks. I don't think trick shot is the goal I'm going for. Subsequently, though, if I have energy shield that is easily beaten by outwit, then trick shot becomes useful again, right? So there's a number of things that could all play in hand. So ultimately, I think he just stays parallel. He doesn't change per se. I think he's just on the same page he was before. And Rick Yell wants to point out that it's his birthday.
Hey, happy birthday!
Thank you for watching.
Good for you.
Hey, another Pisces. Yeah, happy birthday to you, sir.
I love you, Tom. Love you so much. All right. Okay, so Mangaloid. Oh my God, when you say it out loud, why you guys make usernames like this? In general, I have a hard time spotting the aspects of certain pieces that set them apart. What are things I can look to pay more attention to determine what's good versus what's good enough? I kind of covered this in an episode of Metafix, but to make it short, compare points to stats is the first thing you do. And then find a baseline character that you can compare that might do something differently or similarly, and rather. So like find another range character with similar ranges, compare their stats, compare their powers, compare the usefulness overall, then compare their point value and see where it kind of sits. There's no hard baseline necessarily, but if you can kind of minimize what you're paying for and then maximize what your output is, or just if you can find some levels of output that are just worth the points in a lot of cases. I think that's what you're going for. There's a weird relationship to everything. There's no one answer, you know, because if we go back to what we had with Stripe and Stargirl as examples I want to have, Stargirl, you get Perplex out of her, but you have to pay 30 points for it. But she also has Stop Click, which has Pulse Wave on it. And that also still has Perplex. But her stats aren't great. If you look at it, Stripe, he starts with a Stop Click, which means his defense power is protected from Outwit and Pulse Wave, which has Invulnerable and Defend. Also has a Perplex that could be better, that also has Leadership, and you're only paying an extra 5 points if you compare the low points, 35 versus 30. And Stripe kind of, for those extra 5 points, you're getting, I think, more than 5 points of value, in my opinion. Those are the types of comparisons you can start to make if you're really starting to kind of trying to understand at a baseline, like what are we looking for at characters that are good. So it's never just one thing, it's everything combined. Tom, anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I mean, like what you've just described is a very analytical. First of all, I don't think there's a great way, or I don't have a perfect answer for this question because it's something that I struggle with too, and I think we all do. Frankly, we all sit and do previews of figures and try to, put out our comments on them. But I think we all struggle a little bit trying to see the things that are coming before they arrive, or see separate the wheat from the chaff in that respect. And it's always difficult because you never really know what people are going to make work with. And certainly we've made errors before. Jason's very fond of reminding us of Felix Faust.
Yeah, we laughed at him.
and sometimes it's dead obvious. What I was going to say is that Jason's analytical approach is one good one. Another one I would suggest is, look to a piece as it comes out and do a quick little analysis to say, does this fit within an existing sort of template for how a piece is deployed? Or if not, is this creating a new template? And if so, does it feel viable? To think of two examples off the top of my head, Immortal Hulk, I look at him and I see him creating a new template because he is a don't die piece of sorts. He's also a vicious close combat attacker, but he's also awesome at being an ID call-in character. He can be carried around. He's got a lot of longevity, but he does give up some points. And in a way, that particular admixture of elements, being high enough points to call in really potent ID cards, while at the same time being a potent attacker in his own right, and a form of retaliator, with a don't die element. Those particular pieces have never really been put together in that way before. So because he's carving a niche that is a bit distinct to himself, I mean, with flavors of things we've seen before, but in a unique way, I think he's creating his own little corner of the game. And then you say, is he good enough to justify it? And to do the opposite of that, you look at something like Grey Ghost, who is a favorite whipping character for me, but he's a good example of a piece that does something that is unique as well, because he's limiting the opportunity to bring out multiple bystanders, but that effect is not like, there aren't that many characters that are producing multiple bystanders at the same time that are super good. I mean, Groot is the obvious example, and a lot of other bystander generators are only really generating one at a time, and Grey Ghost doesn't have enough beyond that to justify his points, either in stats or in power. So he's creating a kind of a new and unique niche in the game that doesn't fulfill a role good enough to justify his points. And then the other side of that coin is looking at like your standard close combat pieces, your standard range combat pieces, your standard temp poles, your standard support pieces, yada yada. So you kind of look at a piece and try to think roughly, how would I categorize this piece, or what multiple categories might I put it into, and does it do anything that is meaningfully better than other pieces in that category? And then if so, then you do the cost benefit analysis of its point cost. I mean, that's kind of what I would broadly suggest.
All right, Mike, I know you have a slightly different approach.
What, like throw a whole bunch of stuff at a wall and pray?
Can I play it with mojo?
Yeah, pretty much. No.
I know Mike is usually like, what keywords does it have?
That's exactly what it is. I always go with keywords, and then I build from there. But the theory of what these guys are saying is the solid point. You've got to look at it. You've got to see what position it's holding in. It's the whole min max thing. What's the maximum stuff I can get on this figure for the minimum amount of points? Comparing to other figures of equal value or equal purpose. on a team. You know, if this is an attacking figure on a team and this should be an attacking figure, what are their point values? What are their stats? What do they do? Is this one restricted by being boot speed versus a flyer, which immediately means it moves around better? You know, I mean, you do have to look at all those things. I think the thing you have to add in, though, is the practice. I think you can't ever just look at everything. You can't ever just build everything. You literally have to sit down and actually play to see how it works, because it all just becomes conjecture anyway. Everything might look really good. It may sound really good, and this power combination should be really good. But once you sit down, try it out in a real game state, that's what's really going to prove or disprove the value of the figures. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you can do all the other stuff and you can do all the looking at it, but until you actually play it, you know, you're not going to know. And that's when we find out. You know, we've all had moments where we've picked up a figure and thought, oh my God, this is the new hotness. This has got to be the new hotness. This is gold. And we've forced ourselves to try and make it work on a team, and it just doesn't. And that's when we realize, wow, it's not quite what we thought it was. It looks like it is, but it just, in the real world, it never pans out. So I think you have to take all those things into consideration.
And I gave those 3 Magnetos the college try.
You sure did, man. You really did.
All right. Next up, Ethan Beck. And I just also realized I'm so glad I don't pronounce manga properly. If the IDs... Sorry, I'm way away from the mic. If the IDs are in fact finally removed, do you think this will finally have WizKids fix the current issues with Tri-Sentinel and TK, as a Colossal Retaliation will be the main problem piece in the game? Mike, I'll let you take the lead on this one.
Oh, of course. Man, I don't know. Honestly,
you want to have good faith, and then it just all...
Well, I think there's a bit of a track record of not going back too much and keep fiddling and fiddling. Like, I feel like usually there's like a ruling, and then maybe there's another ruling, but that's kind of it. They don't want to keep going back and around. Like, I would love it if they would change what they've done with Colossal Retaliation. I think the Surtur and the Tri-Sentinel thing is a great example, and I would be hopeful. Yeah, I don't know, man. Past experience does not bode well. How about that?
Fair enough, Tom.
Well, I'm a little more optimistic, and the reason I'm optimistic is because, first of all, I think if the ID cards go away, then we're probably including the wanted posters, and if the wanted posters go away, then the Tri-Sentinel probably should too, because they were part of the same thing. So you never know, but in the world in which we're seeing ID cards go away, we're probably seeing Tri-Sentinel go too. And then beyond that, that same retirement, we're definitely losing all the Mighty Thor ones. So like the Surtur that we mentioned earlier is definitely going as well. And so a lot of the most problematic retaliators for the type of like cheese effects that he's specifically asking about are going away. And then as for the TK ruling, I'm assuming he's talking about like the TK an object just to destroy it, right? Yeah, that's pretty hard to pull off in a world without ID characters, since in order to do it on your first turn, generally speaking, you got to get someone out front to call in a TK piece to do it. It's kind of hard to get, because you can't be placed by TK and then use TK. So you'd have to have someone that can move for free and then has access to TK right away without an inspiration or without a call in. So I don't think they really have to address that rule. And again, the Colossal thing kind of helped out because of the pieces that we know to be retiring. And in this scenario, the Tri-Sentinel would be one of them. So, and if it's not, then the wand poster shouldn't go either, and probably neither should the student IDs with the Blackbird. And at that point, we still have options against Tri-Sentinel, and so I think it balances itself a little bit.
See, I think that's the approach, is they just let it go away. They don't really. Yeah. Hence why my reaction was like, I don't really see them doing anything to actively fix it. They'll just be like, no, that's fine. It's going away. We don't need to worry about it.
Right, but if it does go, they're kind of right. Like it's frustrating. I wish it wasn't that way in the first place. But if it is going away on its own for the most part, then we will just all move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Life will carry on, and we'll be okay with it. I feel like you might be right with the Tri-Sentinel. I know it might be dropped with that shift upwards on Conix, like the Con exclusive years. They kind of shifted those up around the same time as Faust.
Yeah, I mean, again, we are connecting it very much with the ID. Like in a world without IDs would probably be a world without Tri-Sentinels, because it would be weird to get rid of some of the prizing, but not the rest of the prizing for the same event.
Yeah. I mean, and then even then, like for all our fears about the TK not TK thing, it's still a world where the collector exists. So,
yeah, exactly. Like it's not that there aren't ways, but it's not nearly as easy.
Yeah. All right. I believe that is it, because I am not falling for Ian Moore's troll there. So on that note, Tom, thank you very much for joining me today, and Mike, thank you for joining me today as well. I want to thank our sponsors over at MajesticCCG.com. Check out the Apex Insiders, $3 a month gets you brain dumps from some of the greatest players in the game of HeroClix. They're great thinkers, great minds, and this is where a lot of our ideas can also come from as well. And sometimes some of us share our ideas. I know I not too long ago put up an article about my Undertaker team, which I played. To a fairly decent top 4 at WKO. So you can check that out, and shares from other players as well. And want to thank our sponsors over at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. Join in on the Patreon. Any valuation gets you access to our patron Discord and our patron Hangout. $5 and up gets you part of the Roll20 Club. Guys, check it out tomorrow if you are part of the Roll20 Club. We're going to have a little bit of fun on Roll20 and goof around playing HeroClix. With that said, Justice League Unlimited is around the corner. Pre-releases are around the corner, and some of these ideas are really good. Get some teams out there, put them on the table, and get some practice in there, because practice will make your teams better. Have a good night, everybody.